The Los Angeles Rams lose 3 key starters to the injured reserve. Who will step up in their absence? How big are these injuries? Also, a former Rams impact wide receiver just became available. Should the Rams sign him? The Rams also made some more roster moves. They signed a linebacker. All that more coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor, join the party. The number one daily Rams podcast is over on YouTube, trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you want to support every single episode of Locked On Rams, hit the like button and drop a comment down below. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation, the LA Sports Report, also NFL radio for Westwood One. Today I am flying solo, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. He is out today. He'll be back tomorrow. We've got a jam-packed show. The Rams made a ton of roster moves. We got some bad injury news. We'll get into that. The Rams also made a sneaky signing. And should they bring back a former impact receiver? I'll tell you who that receiver is and if it's a good idea. But first, this episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by FanDuel. Today's episode is supported by FanDuel, and right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, Ramily, let's get into it. This is some news that we were anticipating as far as Quentin Lake. The other 2 Rams, though, they come as a surprise. So today, Sean McVay, he addressed reporters at Rams headquarters in Woodland Hills, and you got 3 starters that are on the IR. 3 starters, including tight end Tyler Higbee, offensive lineman Rob Havenstein, and safety Quentin Lake. Now, Higbee has an ankle injury. Havenstein is also dealing with an ankle and knee bursitis. That's going to keep them on the shelf for at least 4 games. And Sean McVay did say that Higbee and Havenstein, they could return as soon as week 16 when they're first eligible. So that is going to be the stint for them. Now, the other big news, of course, is Quentin Lake. So McVay did confirm today that Quentin Lake had surgery for a dislocated elbow, saying that if he does return this season, it would have to be in the postseason and not the regular season. So at this point, you have to view Quentin Lake as a long shot to be a contributor to this season for the Los Angeles Rams. It does not feel like it's likely. If it happens, great. That would indicate that the Rams are experiencing a deep playoff run, which we all expect, and there's a chance you could finish with that top seed and have a bye and have some home playoff games, and everything goes your way. Maybe Quentin Lake is able to come back, but then there's the question of which version of Quentin Lake returns and how good and how productive can he be coming off surgery. So it's really unfortunate because Quentin Lake, Q Lake, was headed for the Pro Bowl. Quentin Lake was headed for a pretty nice payday, which he could still get, but just a major blow for him as a person, as a player, getting injured at the worst possible time that you can get injured when you're about to enter free agency, and also as he's continued to emerge as one of the leaders of the Rams defense. So it's a major blow because, yes, you certainly have depth. You did trade for Roger McCreary. He can step in and fill that void in the slot. Kobe Durant, he's capable of playing some slot, but he's done his best work on the boundary, as does Emmanuel Forbes, as has Darius Williams. So the good news is you're going to get Kelly Witherspoon back relatively soon. And when he does come back, 3-4 weeks, you could see some more Kobe Durant featured in that star role, which they were trying to do with him a few years back. But yeah, just like there's no way to sugarcoat it. It is a blow. And Josh Wallace also is another guy that can step up in that role as well. And hey, look, the good thing is the Rams do have depth. They do have a ton of stars, a ton of leaders on this team, and it's the National Football League. And the Rams have been one of the least injured teams in the sport. With essentially no one significant up until this point. Yes, you have Tutuawa, but not major hits to guys going on the injured reserve where you have to miss at least 4 games. You haven't had it to their key players. But you got Lake, you got Havenstein, you got Higbee. They're all going to miss games against the Buccaneers, Panthers, Cardinals, and Lions. So you look at this 4-game stretch. Buccaneers are a team that they're contenders in the NFC. You got Baker Mayfield. You got Emeka Egbuka. You got some talent over there. It's a Sunday Night Football game, standalone, prime time at SoFi Stadium. Aaron Donald night, AD. And then you got the Panthers. Interesting stat about the Panthers, by the way. Did you see this? That the Panthers have won every game that they've won the coin toss and lost every game that they've lost the coin toss, 0-6 to 0-5. Still, the Panthers aren't a team that you should be overly concerned about. It's the National Football League. It's any given Sunday. Any team can be any team, but you should handle the Panthers. The Cardinals have been a dumpster fire this season. Kyler Murray's probably somewhere playing Call of Duty. And, of course, he's injured, but still, I mean, the Cardinals team is the one you should beat. But it's bookended by good teams, the Buccaneers and the Lions. I don't think the Lions are as good this year as they were last year, but still, they're going to come into SoFi Stadium. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. It's going to be a meaningful game. So, yeah, you are going to have some tough opponents, 2 of the 4 in that stretch, but they're going to be eligibly activated for Week 16 against the Seattle Seahawks. So, the good news, too, is that the Rams have built some depth at the tight end position with Terrence Ferguson, Davis Allen, and Colby Parkinson, and Warren McClendon Jr. He's played well during the stretches that Rob Havenstein has missed this season. When he's been banged up, Warren McClendon, for being completely honest, if we're just going snap for snap this season, has outperformed Rob Havenstein this year. And look, we know that Father of Time is undefeated. We know that Rob Havenstein has been a rock for this organization, one of the remaining Rams from St. Louis. Believe it or not, he's been here so long, since 2015, a former Wisconsin Badger. He's held it down on the right side. But whether that be due to injuries, whether that be due to age, whether that be the most realistic reason, which is a combination of everything, Rob Havenstein just has not had himself a great season by his standards. So this is an opportunity for Warren McClendon to step up and to have a massive role in this game for this team in the next 4 weeks as well. So that definitely is a bright spot. Is the guys that are coming in, filling in those spots, have had some success in those roles. Now, it's a lot of stuff to get into as well. You've got more roster moves that the Rams made today. They added 2 defensive backs. They signed kicker Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker, to the 53-man roster. And after those additions to the IR, they were busy adding some other ones. They claimed safety Chris Smith, the second off of waivers from the Raiders. They signed defensive back Alex Johnson to the practice squad after he was cut by the Titans this month. And with Mevis getting bumped up, the Rams now have 2 kickers signed to that 53-man roster. You've got Harrison Mevis, you got Joshua Carty, and Sean McVay did say that Joshua Carty was going to stay on the roster. And, hey, give Sean McVay credit, right? He's key and critical, and he's a man of his word, and he is leaving Joshua Carty on the roster. So you got 2 kickers on the roster, and the Rams, they still do have 1 roster spot open after putting those 3 players on the IR and signing the 2 to the 53-man roster, but no other moves as of yet. But there is a move they could make, an interesting move they could consider. Devontae Adams, 1 catch last week. Yes, it was for a touchdown. He's clearly dealing with the after effects of the oblique injury that he suffered against the San Francisco 49ers. You want to see some more production from him? down the field, the middle of the field, being that complete wide receiver that we know that he is. Puka Nacua, he can get banged up at times, but the truth is that Puka Nacua is still playing at all-pro level. Tutu Atwell has been out, and there is a receiver that played for the Rams for several seasons, had a major impact on this team, and he is available for hire. And we're going to discuss next if the Rams should consider making this signing. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it, because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Locked On Rams, the #1 daily sports podcasting network. So thanks to all the fans. And right now is the best time to join that Everyday Listeners Club. That's where you watch or listen to every single episode of Locked On Rams. That way you'll be the most informed Rams fan. This is the #1 daily Rams podcast. So, yeah, join now. Watch every episode. Listen to every episode. Hey, do both, and then you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Okay, here in our second segment, we're talking about some player acquisition. Should the Rams re-sign, bring back Brandin Cooks? Yes, wide receiver Brandin Cooks has been made available because he is no longer with the Saints. And you look at right now, after Cooks and the Saints mutually agreed to part ways, he's a straight-up free agent. He can pick wherever he wants to go. And yes, the trade deadline has gone and passed. Hey, we've seen in the past this Rams team still remain active and open and fluid if names become available. Perfect example, OBJ. When Odell Beckham Jr. was reinstated after he served his 10-week suspension, could that be someone? Odell Beckham, he had the issues that he had with PEDs, whatever you want to say it is, but Beckham could be someone that you could bring back. He's someone that has Devontae Adams-like skills and ability, and then Brandin Cooks is someone that could be an interesting option as well, because the big difference right now for the Rams offense is you've seen Sean McVay transition to 13 personnel, going multiple tight ends on offense, one wide receiver, 3 tight ends or running back, multiple tight end sets. And last week, the Seahawks, they kind of showed, hey, you're not always going to be able to do that. The Seahawks, they went into nickel. They made it very difficult for the Rams to have success with that. Just 2.7 yards per play out of 13 personnel last week. And we saw in the week before that, 6.7 yards per play. So it's not that the league has completely figured out how to stop the Sean McVay 13 personnel, but one, you have one less tight end now in Tyler Higbee to run that, but also it depends on the opponent and the personnel and the groupings that they have. And the Seahawks, they happen to have a really good defense. They can line up a nickel and kind of match up with that. So Sean McVay, you could still see 13 personnel, and I think you are. They could still use it more than any team in the league, but I think you're also going to see McVay really evaluate it in this next couple of weeks. And if he needs to pivot to 11 personnel and use more wide receiver sets, they're not going to shy away from that, right? The beauty of 11 personnel, it's just about an illusion. It's supposed to look complex, but it's not, right? It's the illusion that it's complex. And someone like a Brandin Cooks, if he is a possible option right now, you don't have Tutu Atwell. I mean, he missed the game last week, and Atwell has been almost non-existent outside of that big catch that he had to win the game against the Colts. Also, Xavier Smith, Kanate Mumfield, Jordan Whittington. I mean, he had a drop against the 49ers in Week 5. He hasn't had more than 15 yards receiving in a game this entire season. Whittington, 0.75 yards per route. I mean, he has done essentially nothing. So really, you look at the wide receiver room, it's Puka Nacua, it's Devontae Adams. You don't have a third wide receiver. You really don't. That's why that has forced you to see more tight ends. So, look, necessity is the mother of invention in football, in all walks of life. But I think when you see the impetus for the genesis of the 13 personnel, it really came out of one, Puka Nacua got injured. Puka got injured against the Ravens. And two, just they're not getting a lot of production outside of the wide receivers when it's not Devontae or Puka. And Devontae has not produced outside the red zone for most of this season. So, I mean, you have to find some alternatives if you're going to run 11 personnel. So, Brandin Cooks, let's talk about him a little more. Of course, he played 2 years with the Rams, 2018 and 2019. The Rams, they traded for Cooks before they went to the Super Bowl in 2018, and he was a monster. I mean, that Rams offense during that period of time, they were incredible. I mean, they were absolutely unstoppable. Defenses had no answers, and Brandin Cooks was extremely productive. 122 catches for 1,787 yards, had 7 touchdowns in 2 seasons. He's not that Brandin Cooks. That version of Brandin Cooks is not cooking with gas anymore. But, hey, medium heat a little bit, right? I mean, he can crank it up a little bit. This season, 19 catches for 165 yards, averaging 8.7 yards per reception. And 2024 wasn't great either. I mean, 259 yards, 26 catches, had 3 touchdowns in 10 games. He's 32 years old. And he would not demand that role as the third receiver, but he does have depth, and he has experience playing Z with Tutu Atwell. We'll see if he can come in and play that role again. But even when Tutu Atwell comes back, we don't really see Matthew Stafford working the ball towards him that often. So having someone that Stafford might trust more maybe could be something. The issue, though, is Cooks. He really is not that deep threat. I mean, if you look at this season, he's had just 2 receptions on 5 targets that are considered deep balls. He's got a 0.58 yards per route run. I mean, that's a career low for him. Last year, he was at 0.89 yards per route ran. So he also just 1 catch in 9 targets on the deep balls as a whole. So there's that. But the other two, the other way to kind of talk yourself into it would be who's he played with under center, right? I mean, the quarterback play for the Saints obviously is extremely substandard, and he definitely has not played with someone as good as Matthew Stafford. So, yeah, I mean, you're probably not going to go crazy with this one and say, okay, we're going to go out there and get Brandin Cooks, Odell Beckham Jr., but it kind of makes you wonder. I mean, with this injury, with Tutu, with kind of where this team is going, just adding depth is still something interesting. And the thing about Brandin Cooks, he still's got some speed, right? And he just has not been playing with a good quarterback the last couple of seasons. I would not be mad at the idea of bringing him on board. I mean, probably rather see Tyler Scott at some point, of course, but hey, bring him in for a tryout. I mean, break out the 40 time. If he's at 4.4, hey, sign him to the practice squad. I mean, Xavier Smith is going to be out at least a week, 2 weeks, something like that. So if you could, hey, work in some stuff with him and with Atwell and Smith out, it's wouldn't be the worst option. It wouldn't be the worst option in the world. It just depends on, would the Rams want to shake things up? Would they want to consider making some additions to their roster this late in the season? They've done it in the past, but when they did in the past, of course, it was for players that were at different points of their career. So, yeah, the Brandin Cooks thing is interesting. I think for me, I'm not going to go full-blown Randy Jackson. That's a no for me, dog. But I always say you don't want to reheat those McDonald's French fries. When you try to reheat the McDonald's French fries, they don't taste the same. They're not as good, right? You want to eat those French fries when you're pulling out of the drive-thru and you're shoving your hand into that bag and they're kind of hot and like blowing out, like, yeah, that's when you want those French fries. Not when by the way, if you didn't finish your French fries right over McDonald's, like, I don't know, that's just kind of weird in general. But yeah, it kind of feels like the ship has sailed for Brandin Cooks. But I think the most important thing about this conversation is they need some more production from the wide receiver spot, because if teams are going to adjust to the 13 personnel, you need some guys to step up. And let's call it what it is, whether it be lack of opportunity. Jordan Whittington hasn't had the season that I thought he was going to have. At least he hasn't looked good in the opportunities that he's had. Tutu's been injured, and Mumfield hasn't been good either, and then Smith is injured. So you definitely need to find some solution. And then Devontae Adams has been injured and not as productive as we had hoped as far as just an overall yards standpoint. So I'm not saying they're thin, but it definitely is a position group that you need more out of at this stage of the season, because, hey, we're already week 12. Like, things are moving very quick. 7 games left. And this team is going for the number 1 seed. This team's going for a bye, and you need to be firing all cylinders. And the wide receiver room is a room that you want to optimize a little more. So coming up next, some more roster moves. We'll talk some Puka Nacua, some Aaron Donald. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making the late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a $300 bonus bet when your first $5 bet wins. Let me say that one more time. FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, here in our third segment, some more signings to talk about. Like I said, my big fear waking up at 3:30 in the morning in a cold sweat is that any Rams fan or any football fan would come up to you and say, hey, do you know about this story involving the Rams? And you don't know the answer. So even if it does feel like you're digging deep here into the weeds, you got to know everything about your Rams. And the Rams did sign former Cardinals linebacker Jesse Luketa. They added him to their practice squad. Luketa, 7th-round pick out of Penn State in 2022, playing 31 games for the Cardinals over the last 3 seasons. The Ottawa, Canada native. My man's from Ottawa, Canada. Shout out to the Senators. 6'3", 253 pounds, 26 years old. He started 2 of 10 games for Arizona in 2024, had 3 sacks, 21 combined tackles, 1 forced fumble. He's got 35 combined tackles in 31 career games since 2022. And who knows what his role is going to be with the Rams right now? It's unclear. But the most likely scenario is he's going to be on the practice squad after the team cut linebacker Jamil Muhammad on Monday. So a practice squad dude is Laketta. Be an interesting name to get into. Now, I also want to talk about Dan Orlovsky in a comment that he made. He said that the Rams have a fatal flaw. What is the Rams' fatal flaw? He said, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say this is the worst special teams unit in football. It's hard to find a flaw in this football team, but it's a very, very bad special teams unit in LA. Wow. He talked about some of the reasons why. Of course, it's funny to say this because we know that Ethan Evans had one of the best punts ever that essentially won the Rams the game against the Seahawks. But he's got a point in some respects. And yes, Harrison Mevis has still not attempted a field goal in the last couple of games. But the Rams have a 66.7% field goal percentage. That is not good. You also have one of the worst kick return yards in overall production in the league. They don't have a 25-yard kick return this season. So, I mean, look, if you're going to have fatal flaws, having a bad quarterback that throws a lot of interceptions, having an offensive line that gives up a lot of sacks, having a defense that gives up a bunch of points, having an offense that isn't able to gain yards, and a running game that isn't able to gain yards. I mean, there's a lot worse issues that football teams can have. But yes, especially in the playoffs, especially in, the Super Bowl, special teams is going to play a factor, and kicking is going to be a factor. Look at Tom Brady. First 4 Super Bowls, less than 4 points, right? I mean, you look at all of those kicks, Adam Vinatieri, it would be tragic. It'd be nothing short of devastating if the Rams don't win the Super Bowl or don't advance deep into this postseason this year and early next year if it's because of bad special teams, especially because we've seen Zerline and Greg the Leg, Legatron, and all these great kickers come through here. But another thing, too, is Jake McQuaid. I mean, the long snapper, and Harrison Mevis. And these guys have to get it together. But if the Rams are true contenders, if they're true Super Bowl contenders that want to hoist that Lombardi trophy, they're going to have to get something out of their special teams group. Their special teams can't be a liability. And it can't dictate and impact play calling because that gives the defensive coordinator an advantage on the other side. So that's another thing, too. For sure. So, yeah, I mean, Puka Nacua, by the way, he gave out his top 5 wide receivers. He did a blind ranking of them. So it's not fair to say, oh, these are his top 5, because, of course, if you know how the blind rankings work, you have to kind of play it like a game, right? You're given a receiver, and then you have to rank that receiver 1 through 5. And depending on how that goes, you just never know like where someone's going to pick. So my good friend, NBC's Michael Duarte, he talked to Puka Nacua yesterday at the Lakers game, and the first receiver that he got was Marvin Harrison Jr., and he was ranked 5th. The second one he got was Terrell Owens, ranked 3rd. Then he got Devontae Adams. He ranked him 1st. Then he got Randy Moss and ranked him 2nd. And then he got Jerry Rice and ranked him 4th. So his top 5 ended up being Devontae Adams, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice, and Marvin Harrison. So, look, it's tough to not have Moss and Rice at 1-2 in some combination. Rice being more productive throughout his career, 199 tutties. Widely viewed as one of the best football players in this game's history. Randy Moss, I think Jerry Rice is like the Jordan. Randy Moss is like the LeBron in a way. But actually, I don't know. That's tough because LeBron has a longevity too. But I just mean as a physical freak. But I don't know. Michael Jordan had the tallest vertical at 49 inches. So, but that was Puka Nakua's. Now, Aaron Donald, by the way, it's Aaron Donald bobblehead night on Sunday. They're celebrating Aaron Donald, and I'm excited for AD. Sean McVay had so many nice things to say about him. We'll definitely talk some AD for sure. But expect to see a lot of Aaron Donald number 99 jerseys. They're going to celebrate the legacy of one of the greatest players, arguably the greatest defensive player ever. And, hey, it is going to be special to see. Can't wait to see Aaron Donald at SoFi on Sunday. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, drop a comment down below. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.